Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Product Release Live. I'm Lorhan Caproni, co-founder and CEO of BotCity. I'm here with Hugo Slepicka, our VP of Engineering. Please introduce yourself, Hugo.
Hi everyone, my name is Hugo. I'm the VP of Engineering here at BotCity, and yeah, we're here today to show up some of the new features that we have in BotCity.
So we have a lot of cool stuff to show, and if you are looking to try BotCity out or looking for the new features, of you are a user or a customer making user of our features now, I think you're gonna love the next things we're gonna show up. So for this new release on this next quarter, we're talking about mostly three things: about the data pool for batch processing of tasks, or user groups and repositories, so we can have full control of our users' activity, separate by role and activity, and finally some better, most of improvements in our document processing solution, BotCity Documents. So what do we want here? We're going to talk a little bit. Hugo is going to show you a little bit of each topic. So starting off data pool, the goal here for our users that used to use on like UiPath framework, now you have the same for Python. So you can have batch processing for long task queues and really a powerful way to monitor that. So Hugo, feel free to show us a little bit about that.
So let me share my screen here and give you an overview of the data pool. So data pools are basically a way for you to handle batch processing of items, right? Exactly as you would have with a queue or whenever your robot is processing data from a spreadsheet or from a database. But what does data pool bring to you that you don't necessarily have on those tools, right? So you easily have all the management of those items, such as auto retry, protection against your queue drainage whenever you have errors or your system is offline, plus a couple of other features such as trigger of your tasks in the BotCity Orchestrator and more. So to give you an example, here I have a very simple data pool that will allow me to process some items for zip codes. So the data pool enable you to configure a couple of things here. So you can select the consumption policy. You can decide whether or not to automatically retry failed items. You can also enable the drainage protection with the abort on error, in which the data pool will automatically disable itself whenever a certain number of errors happen. And also you can decide whenever an item goes into a timeout state, right? So you can easily identify processes that are taking longer or are going to result in some problems. You can also choose between three options of triggers, such as always, in which the data pool will automatically create new tasks for a certain automation and every time that a new item is inserted. Or you can select also the no task active, in which data pool is going to be smart to check your task queue to see if you already have a task running or pending to be running whenever a new item is inserted. You can select the automation that's going to be triggered. And plus, data pools by nature, they are freeform. This means that you can select and include any sort of information that you want with any structure that you want. But we know that that's not necessarily how automations work. So we enable you to establish a schema. What is a schema? A schema is composed by a label and a type for the information that you want to add to the data pool. So this will ensure that your data is always in the expected format. Of course, you can add more fields if you would like at the time of creating a new item, but data pool will ensure that the items inserted in it will follow the predefined schema. So now let's see how data pool will work in real life. So here, this is the view of the data pool. It gives you an insight of your status, right? If it's active, how many items you have in progress, how many remaining, how many were processed with success or errors. You can manually create entries here, defining a priority for the processing. Plus, as we saw before, following the schema, here I have zip codes, right? Or you can also import files from a CSV. So here I can easily load a batch of items to be processed. And whenever I do this, the data pool will be populated with all the items that we selected in the spreadsheet, and a new task is going to be generated by the trigger and already start processing my items. So what is a very nice feature that we have from the data pool that we don't necessarily get from using a local spreadsheet file or anything like that, right? So here I have my USPS zip code lookup automation, and my data pool is processing all those items that I have here. So I have 56 items remaining. So now with BotCity, I can just simply create more tasks of the same automation and start parallelizing the consumption to my items here. So this one is being processed at one runner, and the other one, as you can see, is running another one here. So now I have parallelized consumption of those items and the performance gain, all automatically without changes.
So you can really speed up the same data pool, putting more runners as you want. You want to scale if you want to scale that.
Exactly. So you can easily start now multi-processing your data pool with ease, with all the retries and all the information being generated here. So BotCity Maestro Orchestrator takes care of the whole distribution of those items, handling the queue for you, and retries and all the other operations. So here you can see that's processing really fast. So we can click refresh here, and you can see the drainage of the queue and how the items are going so well. So Datapool enables you to perform all this, and you can easily handle this in your automation. So if we look into the code, right, so how does this work, or how can I use Datapool? So that's a very good point. Here we have a simple code snippet, right, for a Datapool. It's not the same example, but I just want to show you that importing the BotCity Maestro SDK in your code base, you can create a data pool you can use a data pool by simply asking for the data pool object, so by the label, and then you can create new entries from your code base, as you saw me doing with the Excel file or the manual entry, but you can also do this via the API. And at the end, what really matters for the consumption of items is this loop here, which we ask, while the data pool has more items to be processed, I want to fetch the entry as being the next one available. And after that, I can report it as done or report as error. So we worked a lot on the API to make it as simple as possible. And you can have more information about this API directly from our documentation portal, in which we are going to cover all the explanation about data pool, how it works, and how to use the data pool with the BotCity Maestro SDK.
That's incredible. So if you want to try it out, data pool is available for a limited time when you create a new account into BotCity. So you can check our documentation, create an account, and try by yourself. It's an incredible feature. Took a lot of time to make this the best way possible. So amazing.
Awesome.
Okay. So the next one that we're going to talk about it is to solve a big pain when you have scalable operations in big companies. Because when you're talking about managing RPA operations, there's a problem about governance. It's a problem about who can access anything, who can check robots, who can start robots. So we are sure that there are different behaviors within companies. Some companies, they just schedule everything and no one touch the robot, but sometimes you need people to get access to the orchestrator and start bots on demand, or the concept of assisted bots, if you prefer. So what we just launched now is a new version about repositories and user groups. So what we mean with that, before, you just had three roles: administrator, operator, and developer. But now you can have a clear separation within departments. So Hugo is going to show us a little bit about how can you have like a specific process that just for people with access on procurement, for instance, or maybe our finance. So this way is a new layer of governance that you can have in your operations. So Hugo, feel free to show us a little bit about that.
Awesome. Thank you, Lorhan. So now, again, on the bottom left side of Maestro, we have the organization part, right? So accessing the organization menu under users and groups, we can now register groups to group our users into the departments or any other business logic that you have that will join your users here. So for instance, we have in this use case, two groups here, the finance and the procurement groups, right? In which we can associate users here and give them the ability to be part of this group. So I can basically select any of the users that we have and add them to the group. So they are going to be now able to see all the information, and the repositories also associated with these groups. So groups are meant to join users in a uniform way. Repositories, on the other side, is how we group the entities on the BotCity Maestro. And what do I mean by that? So repositories are a way to group together automations, bots, logs, and credentials, right? So for instance, here I have a repository named procurement, which is the procurement department repository. So where we're going to put all so here I have in repositories, the procurement repository, in which the procurement department is going to store all of its automations, bots, logs, and credentials, right? So we can give permission to groups. So suppose that you have procurement developers, procurement operators. Any way you want to assemble your groups of users, you can bring them in and give them access, right, to the certain group here, and enable them to access the entities related to this repository. So if I want to see all the automations associated with the procurement repository, I can click in all automations and filter here now by the repository. So I can see that the supplier homologation automation is associated with this group. So users belonging to this group are only going to be able to see this automation. So whether it's in the new task or any other way, right? So I can even select the logs that are only pertinent to my group. Here I have, of course, an admin access, but users are going to be limited to see the information from the repositories and groups that they belong to. So this allows you to have much more control over access, and also all the security of the information that you have in your company.
Yeah, and the really big importance of this is when you're talking about evolving the orchestration towards a governance layer. This is really important because sometimes when we talk about let's orchestrate something, people think about just scheduling or have a task queue, getting access to the orchestrator every single day because the process they want to demand in real time. So for the layer of the governance should be great for that. So people on finance will just see their own robots, people on procurement will see their own bots. And then after they send everything to the BotCity Maestro, Maestro will be responsible to distribute everything and manage the task queue and make the best use of your virtual machines or containers to deploy and run and get all the alerts from their orchestration. So this is what orchestration is about, is really to involve the other stakeholders beyond just deploying bots, but with this big layer of governance. So amazing, Hugo. So let's move for the next one. So we have BotCity documents. BotCity focusing more on structured documents such as invoices and text documents. So we had a few improvements over there to get more on better accuracy and better results on the way the documents was built. So if you want to walk us through of that, that would be great.
Awesome. So on BotCity Documents, most of the changes that we introduced were to really speed up the developer cycle, right? So you take less time reading the documentation and more time creating your templates for document processing. Also, we enhanced the support for OCR and processing of image files, right? Either they are photographic PDFs or you really like image files that you may have. So to give an example of how this changed in the new features introduced, so now we have in the BotCity Studio, still under the same menu item, we can come to Documents, Load New Document. Now there's this new dialog in which you can select your file and pick one from the list of available providers such as text, Amazon TXtract, and Google Cloud Vision. So this is a big enhancement. Before we had only one processing unit, which was our generic processing, which tried to achieve both OCR capabilities and text. What we realized is that the precision was not that great. So we integrated with a couple of OCR providers, and this list is going to be expanded in the future. But to give you an idea here, using the Cloud Vision plugin, we can select which page we want. Plus, there is now a new option here to generate the code for imports and loading the file. So this now enables the developers to have a ready-to-use code whenever they just simply click load and the documents being processed. So you can see how much code was generated here. And to give you an example, I can select, for instance, the account number in the area that we're going to read, and all the codes here is generated. So it gives you an insight now of the packages that you need to import in your requirements.txt file. It already provides you all the imports for the packages, instantiate the plugin to use Google Cloud Vision. So you don't need to bother by figuring out what's the API for Google Cloud Vision. You can leverage BotCity OCR plugins for Google Cloud Vision and Amazon T-Extract to already deal with that for you. Plus, here we have the integration with our BotCity Documents document parser, and then after that, the generation of the whole template for you to use. So this enable developers to have a more accurate approach, plus the ability to quickly produce an integration with an OCR provider directly from BotCity Studio.
Good. And just to a quick recap about BotCity Docs is a tool with a different philosophy when you build documents. So you don't need to train models. You can use like a generate PDF file to select from the area of this document. So within this approach of selecting from the area, you avoid like the problems of when have line breaking information or using regex to fix stuff. So the goal here, we're talking about structured documents, is to really give a powerful tool to speed up for developers to build fast templates to read both, generate PDF files and image files as well. So these improvements were made to enhance even more the ability and the speed to read these documents, because most of the time they're involved in automation process. So amazing. So great new launches. So let's talk about some trends for 2024.
For BotCity's next cycle of development in the developer tool space, we have a couple of exciting new features coming to you. We invested a lot of time addressing most of the requests that we received, plus also enhancements to security and stability of our tools, such as the BotCity Runner, BotCity Studio, and the BotCity Li, our command line interface. So one of the biggest requests that we had was that it was very annoying for developers to be constantly switching the context between their favorite IDE, be it VS Code, PyCharm, or whatever it was, in the BotCity Studio, right? So we had such as loss of information coming from editing the file on the BotCity Studio, then was not showing up on the IDE. So we understood it was a big hassle. So I'm very excited to show you now what's going to be for the future of what BotCity Studio is going to become. So let me share my screen and show you here a very nice new development that we have coming soon for you. So now on the BotCity Studio, you're going to have the BotCity plugin, which will allow you to seamlessly integrate with your code. So let's suppose that I have here my code for a simple desktop bot, and I want to capture directly from Firefox. So I can simply press my print screen button here on my computer, and suppose that I want to interact with the sign up button. So I can just say sign up, decide that I want to do a click, exactly as we did before, and submit. So now, if I close here and go back to my VS Code, here is the code that I have and was supposed to be created directly on my IDE. So no more jiggling between BotCity Studio and VS Code. So this plugin is in the initial stage. We have the UI capture functionality, which is very used for the desktop automations, but we're going to be soon bringing also the document processing and more integrations with BotCity Maestro.
So developers, we hear you. Finally, you're gonna get rid of this problem. No more two monitors to make things happen now. So productivity will increase. So exciting things to come here.
Exactly. And this will only become even better because for the next cycle, BotCity is going to be investing a lot of time also in bringing GenAI for you to enhance the code understanding and also to increase developers' productivity. So keep an eye open and look for the new features coming soon.
Amazing. So there's some more things to come. So when thinking about BotCity, mostly we're thinking about delivering two things for you. One is productivity for developers. So we're talking about this release on productivity in BotCity Studio, BotCity Docs, and on the other side, provide enterprise level orchestration. So there's the two things that are making most of our investment on product research and development for the next steps, right? So one thing that I would like to show as a next step is the bot sitting sites, because when if you already use BotCity, you'll know that you can make customize your logs any way you want. So you can have your logs exported. You can make the consumption of your logs through the API and plot these logs on a Power BI or Grafana or any of these platforms. So we gave this freedom from the way day one, so you can do this whatever you want. So you can plot on any platform you want. But we are developing something that to help you show the best of the results of your operations to other stakeholders. That's what we're talking about, evolving the operation. So not about just the queues, just scheduling, but how can we show results about your COE, about your operations for teams on the company at all. So one of these features that we are working with for the next quarter is the BotCity Insights. So BotCity Insights will be a full module for enterprise licenses, but will be available for testing for customers and community as well, to provide informations about everything that you need on operations. It will be fully customized, so you can have a COE, total ROI, you can have cost savings, you can show automations in production, and you can have statistics on task level, on alert level, on process level, on department level. So here, what we think is, when you're talking about an automation operation, you need to provide results. You need to unlock new projects. So the goal here is to show the people that are outside of the operations, should they understand the full scale they have and the savings that they can provide, not just on what's happening right now. So here you can see tasks per day and ROI and saving and payback by each process. So you can really check, hey, that supplier approval process was really worth it. Yes, here can have how many hours we saved, how much money we saved. And on the other side, we're talking about backlog and development as well. So we are working with tools to help on collecting more information to understand better the process from the customer perspective, not on the task processes or task mining perspective, but on the customer perspective. So how can we deploy informations here and get a better backlog? So we can understand not just how much money I saved, but how much money can I save for now, from the future. So this can unlock new projects. And other things that you can have available here is like best indicators to show SLA. So like time to production and like SLA on maintenance of the robots, and things that can make your team improve on best practices and evolving during the time. So BotCity sites will be available at the beginning of 2024 for all the customers. We're going to talk obviously in a release like this one to show more in detail what's happening. So more exciting things to go. We're talking about developer tools, we're talking about insights on enterprise governance, and we talk about Gen AI integration. So that's exciting times, new things to come here. Okay, so let's talk about some trends for 2024, some things that we are seeing. 2023 is a really crazy year from a technology perspective. I think you open your fridge, you're gonna find AI inside. So there's AI everywhere. So we need to talk about this. So one of the things that we're seeing in the trends, we're talking about the multi-vendor architecture and the power of Python as a protagonist in this next level. So I'm going to share a little bit of context about that and talk about what we are seeing globally when we're talking about customers and users around the world. So the first thing that's really important is when you talk about hyper automation by Gartner definition, we are talking a broadly compound of tools, right? So talking about RPA, IDP, integration, APIs, IPAS, process orchestration, process mining, and now when talking about AI and machine learning, now we're talking about generative AI as well. And here is the deal. Python is the ultimate enabler for all of this. Because when you're talking about Gen AI integrations or machine learning projects, everything that needs to be done in low code was already built in Python. So why not switch to Python? So this is a really this AI wave that is taking us to a new future now is really put Python as a protagonist more and more in hyper automation operations. So globally, what we are seeing is a trend, clear trend for multi-vendor architecture. So when we talk about multi-vendor architecture, we're talking about coexisting low-code tools with Python automations as well. So to be really clear here, our goal is not to say one tool is better than another, but the best tool is that one that's gonna suit you better for your use case, right? But as the market gets more maturity on technology, companies are thinking about not to be locked in just one vendor. And it's really interesting to have a portfolio of technologies so you can really have a toolbox to tackle different problems with different users and different use cases. So one of the reasons about this multi-vendor architecture trend, the first one is the advent of AI, but the second one is the licensing cost and the locking. So when you build something in a low-code RPA platform, you are building something proprietary technology. So you are locked in pricing, you are locked in high licensing costs. And that's something that's kind of crazy in RPA because if you implement a process with huge licensing costs, but you save a lot of money, on the first year, you are forgiven because you save a lot of money. But the year two, someone starts asking you, how about this licensing cost? And you're going to answer, hey, I saved a lot of money last year. Okay, but this was last year. How about this year? So in this economic environment, companies are starting to thinking about, hey, do I need to pay this much for licensing costs? How about open source alternatives? How about Python alternatives? So that's one of the trends of multi-vendor architecture. The second one, we're talking about scalability and performance. So when you compare low-code automations with Python, if you already built that, made experiments, this is customer data, automations can be from 3 to 20 times faster. And we're talking about scalability. You saw what Hugo showed you, and you can see our data pool if you want in our documentation. So you have much more power to make parallel executions, and there's a different model to work. But the problem with the Python in the past, when if you're talking about 4 years ago, 5 years ago, companies were not using Python a lot in RPA because there was a lack of governance. So you don't have governance, you don't have control, you don't have orchestration, and we solved that. So BotCity solved the problem in orchestration and governance. So it's not a problem anymore. So we opened the window for this multi-vendor architecture. And then the last one that I think is really important. Sometimes we got some questions say, hey, but it's kind of difficult to find developers. So I think it's better to use low code because I don't need developers. Every single company that knows that scaled RPA, they have developers inside. They have developers working even with no code platforms. So you already have developers in place and you are given the wrong tool for developers. So the best way the companies are evolving right now, they have low code platforms to empower business users for their use case on task level, on department level. And you have developers working with Python and orchestrating with BotCity for critical operations and enterprise-wide operations. So this way you can save a lot of money because you can mix balancing the licensing. The licensing cost is totally different model from one platform to another, and you have tools for everyone. You can really get what it matters, make your company more efficient. So what you're saying here is like the low code, they lift their automation off the ground. So if you think about two-stage rocket, right? So the first stage took off the ground with the low code operations, but what will really launch you to the next phase will be Python and AI. And BotCity will be there to provide the developer tools and the orchestration as well. So what we provide right now from productivity level, we're talking about frameworks, libraries, the plugins, document processing, computer vision to Python Studio. And then on governance and orchestration, we talk about the agents, orchestration, Datapool, BotCity Insights, and we have the academy and support, global academy, and a global partners network. And talking about a global partners network, we are dealing with several companies globally. They like the model, they like the Python, but sometimes their team they need more support. They need partners to implement. So we are growing our partners network that's present now in US, Europe, India, and South Latin America. So we are growing this partners network. So if you are a company that's get inquiries about the customers asking, hey, how about Python? Please reach out to us. We can be partners and we can give you good support, technical support, commercial support to make things happen on Python and provide a new generation for automations for our customers as well and make them avoid lock-in. And finally, you have projects that you don't spend half of the budget with licensing. You spend the budget with services, with a better licensing model and a more fair licensing model. So this new trend right now is on multi-vendor architecture is happening everywhere and is a clear trend with any technology that gets to maturity. So I think with that we close this product release. And Hugo, do you have any final comments or we're done here?
Oh, I think we're done. It was amazing to be able to showcase all the new features that we've been developing along this time.
Amazing. There are exciting things to come. So thank you
Oh,
everyone.
yeah.
And keep an eye open for the next things that you're gonna show the next months.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye bye.